Sartabim shakes we knew Trobim agrod until his arcade to his station of Bonita. Sovereignly soak to his station.
All right, next little segment in the Bock Saga. And this one's called The Plan Locked into the Root Language. The Asur, the people from Udenma who lived near the axis of the planet, were divided into two castes. The first was the pirouette family, consisting of a grandfather, which is called Gube, and a grandmother, which is Guma. Their 12th son was Sol Bakken Balder. He has many titles and names within this book and is referred to as the Lemminkainen. His lady, Joutsen, referred to in this book is Svan, S-V-A-N, and bore him 12 sons and 7 daughters, who each had a title. The first son and daughter of the family were the king Urs and queen Mai, referred to as Seppo and Maya. The 12th son would be the next Lemminkainen and would continue the family line by having children with his own Svan as soon as he reached the age of 27. The king and queen did not have any children, nor did the older brothers and sisters. However, the first 11 brothers and 7 sisters in the Bock family did play another very important role in the procreation system. This will be explained in detail in chapters describing the offer ring. Offer ring. Frey was the first Bock, and later became the first Gube. Remember, Gube is grandfather. Freya became the first Guma, grandmother. The first people born outside of Udenma were called Vaner, V-A-N-E-R. The Svan, who was the symbol of the swan. So we probably get that word swan from Svan, was chosen for being the most beautiful and healthiest lady from the Vaner. By the way, aside, I think we also get the number 7 from the symbol of the swan. It's a little hard to explain, but the way the swan looks, the neck and the bend, I think originally its symbol morphed into what we call the number 7 right now. The Lemminkainen and the Svan had many children, but since only the 12th son would have children himself, there would not be enough offspring to populate the whole planet. According to the plan, within the root language, a second caste, known as the Rosette family, or the family of roses, was then created. The head of this family was the same Lemminkainen as the pirouette family. Little aside, you have very high ancient names of certain noble families in Europe named Rose family, Rosalind family, the Roslin family, the Rosicrucian or Rosicruce family. So these people may be descendants of the very ancient Rosette family. Lemminkainen had a harem of women called Disa or Disor. Disor is the plural of Disa. The first Disor were the daughters who came after the first 7 daughters of Frey and Freya. After that, Disor were the daughters of the previous Disor and Lemminkainen. Lemminkainen had children with the Disor, turning the Disor into stem mothers. The children of Lemminkainen and Disor were also Asur because they were born in Udenma and belonged to the Rosette family. There were 8 future possibilities for the children of a Disa and a Lemminkainen. If they had a boy, he possessed the physical attributes of a child maker. He was given the title of Rabbi, which is where we get the word today, rabbi. So, I've said this before, the Hebrew language is actually fairly new. It did not come from the Middle East. It came from Northern Europe. It came from the Hibernians, the original Hebrew or Hebrew. But people don't want to believe that, but it is true if you study etymology. So the title of Rabbi, he would be assigned a ringland outside of Udenma, where he would hold court and be the All-Father. A ringland is one of the many territories outside Udenma of approximately the same size where the Rabbi and brother and sister would hold court. If a boy turned out to be an unsuitable childmaker, he had three options. He could become a nar, N-A-R, in which case he was also sent to a ringland, as each court also had a nar. The next possibility would be for the boy to become a tor or a tyr, T-Y-R. If the Disa and Lemminkainen gave birth to a girl with the desired physical attributes, she would be Disa herself and have children with the Lemminkainen. If she was a girl who was seen as unfit to have children, she could be Sianare. I think that's how you say it, Sianare. Like the Nar boys, the Sianare were sent to the outside court of a ringland. If she was a girl, she could also be a Torah or a Terra or Tira. The word Terra most likely comes from it. It is said that the Tor and Torah and Tyr and Terra, who were all members of the Rosette family, could travel freely around the world as long as half of them remained in Udenma. In the Rosette family, there were altogether 80 Tor, Torah, Tyr, and Terra. The pirouette family, consisting of Lemminkainen, his 11 older brothers, and 7 sisters, as well as the Svan, never left Udenma while they were fulfilling their respective roles in the procreative system. Okay, just a little aside, as you read this book, you start to realize that this story is a story of practical living. It's a story of spirituality. It's a story of wisdom that's encased in the human body and in nature, that was eventually encased in an alphabet, which became writing. It's also a story of procreation. It's a system or a way in which the ancient peoples devised the healthiest way to make the healthiest people with the greatest chance of survival, as well as to try to promote the idea of breeding beauty, or not just beauty, but just strong and healthy people. Positioned in a ring or a circle around Udenma were 6 ringlands of the same size of Udenma, 250 kilometers in diameter. Outside this ring, more rings were formed, and through the repetition of the structure, the planet was populated. All the ringlands together resembled a beehive. Each ringland had a court where a Rabbi, born in Udenma, resided with his brother, the Nar, and his sister, the Sianare. The role of the Rabbi was to create the next caste, called the Yarlet. He had children with the women from the Jarl, who were suitable to become mothers. If the Jarl sons of the Rabbi and Jarl women were found to be suitable to have children, they would have them with women from the caste below, and that was called Karlet. So the Jarl and the Yarlet, the Yarlet caste, in some ways would eventually have children with the Karlet caste. And this again was another way to supposedly make the seed and the procreation process stronger and more beautiful. The children born from the Jarl men and Karl women belonged to the Karlet caste. Karl sons, who were suitable to have children, would in turn have them with women from the caste below them, called Trile or Trilet. However, Trell men were not child makers. If during this paradise time, you happen to be a Trell boy or girl belonging to the Trelet 5th caste, your father would be a Karl belonging to the Karlet or 4th caste. Your grandfather would be a Jarl belonging to the Yarlet or 3rd caste. The father of the Jarl, the young great-grandfather, would be the Rabbi or the Rabbi of your ringland. The father of this Rabbi is the Lemminkainen, the All-Father in Hell, who would be your great-grandfather. So you can say they made a system of rings within the family itself for procreation, and they also made that system from the land that they lived in, because the sun goes around the North Pole and never sets in a ring. That sun in a ring is a representation of the serpent, or the serpent in the sky. The wing. It's also the winged disc in Egypt. It's also the aurora borealis, or So this they realized that the ring was a very sacred symbol because the circle is the strongest symbol in nature. And of course, all waves move out in rings, spiraling rings. So they built that into their whole culture, their religion, their spirituality, their way of life, as well as their family structure. Thus, all the people on the planet were related to each other and were direct descendants of the Lemminkainen. The sperm line that was passed down from the Lemminkainen through the different castes in the river of eternal life, flowing southwards from hell. And again, remember, just a reminder, the word hell does not refer to this deep, dark, scary place that most people associate with that word. The word hell means clear or light. It also means the center of everything. Therefore, if we were to look for the geographical location of the so-called fountain of youth, the source of eternal life would be found in hell, which is mentioned before, was the exact North Pole during paradise time. According to the heathen understanding, the reason for this hierarchical order of reproduction is that all people possessed a soul, and in root, the soul is soul, S-O-L, which translates as sun. So this is probably pretty well known that the word soul, S-O-U-L, the human soul, most likely that word is in reference to the sun, because we realized a long time ago that without the sun that there is no life. And that's why when you have a baby boy, he is called the sun, because it's a representation of life from the real sun, a representation on earth of that life. As we will explain in the chapter of the offering, the Lemminkainen had access to the most complete and pure soul, S-O-L, by having children with the Disa, and he transfers the soul, S-O-U-L, or sun, through the sperm to the second caste of the rosette. As an example of how the root language works, the word sperma breaks down as follows. S means sun, the creative force. Per, P-E-R, means the All-Father, as in the word père in Latin. Like you say, mon père is my father in Latin. So per means father. And ma, M-A, means mother or Mother Earth. So this is really interesting. The word sperma really refers to the sun, the actual sun, united with the male and female, or the mother and the father, creating new life. The sons of the Lemminkainen and Disa therefore are bestowed with the soul, divided into two. When these Rabbi have children with the women from the Jarl caste, the soul is thus divided once more. The Jarl men with then have children with women from the Karl caste, and again the soul is divided. The Karl men have children with the Trell women, dividing the soul once more. As mentioned, the Trell men did not have children. This is where the Bock stops, so to speak. So, the writer of this book, by the way, I should have said this earlier. So, this is a little pun that they wrote. This is where the Bock stops, which is probably where we got the word buck. B-U-C-K came from Bock. Okay, moving on. The reason for this was the belief that the soul of the Lemminkainen is now divided, that if the Trell had children, they would not have enough soul. Remember that originally in the human race was hybrid between ape and goat. Okay, I already went over that. The whole ape and goat thing I haven't really reconciled yet. But what I found in my studies is that you'll always find some reason to discredit some sort of wisdom. You'll be like, oh, I found that one little thing. It can't be true. None of this can be true because this doesn't work. Well, I've learned over time that, no translation, no transmission of information is pure, except maybe love, So I don't know how to reconcile this, but don't discredit this whole story because of this very bizarre idea. Just let it be and move on and see what happens. Through this system of selective breeding, the race was stabilized and kept healthy and beautiful. This stabilization came from the Bock family and the health and beauty from the genes of the Svan. Many rituals and festivities played a role in both the judging of those deemed suitable for the task of reproduction and the choice made by the women of which man from the caste above them would become the father of their future children. In each ringland, there were special places where people would gather to conduct these rituals. The festivals were held at particular times during the year, and all the people of the ringlands attending would play a role in the events. For the heathen people, the production of the next generation was the single most important responsibility in their lives, and thus the festivals and other ritualized actions that were involved in the task were considered the most important. Okay, I got to take another little aside here. This is just my opinion, but the reason why this story still exists is because these people had such a high value in the family unit being the most important thing. Not just to stay together physically, but to stay together culturally, emotionally, and spiritually. And I can't help but think that the modern world, which is full of all kinds of broken families, where there's no father there, there's no mother there, there's single parent here, there's no aunts and uncles around, and I can't help but think that this is not good and not normal. The human species for millions of years evolved as a family unit, and that's how we got this far. And so, I don't know, it's just strange that it seems to be breaking apart these days, and I think that broken family is reflected in a somewhat broken culture, and that it would be very, very useful if the modern person, and I'm speaking of the modern Western person kind of more specifically, would really, rethink their values on what it is to be a family, be a member of a family, to be the head of a family, the mother of a family, the father of a family, the grandmother of a family, grandfather of a family. These were extremely important roles, and I think we need to revisit them because they seem to be kind of cast aside lately. Anyway, that's my rant for that. The Bock Saga gives a detailed explanation of these vital events in another part of the story. Even those who did not have children of their own would play important roles in these events. This also involved countless rituals that will be dealt with later on in this book. This little chapter is called In a Nutshell. All the people inside Udenma, the ringland on the axis of the planet, are called the Asur. There are two families in Udenma, the first of which is the pirouette family. Lemminkainen is the all-father of everyone on the planet, and the Svan, the healthiest and most beautiful woman on the planet, the all-mother. The title Svan refers to the fact that she is a Vanr, and the S comes from her relation to the Solbakken Balder, another name for the Lemminkainen with whom she will spend her life producing children. So the Vanr, V-A-N-E-R, is where we get the second ring of the alphabet of this language. So there were two main types of speech spoken. They all come from the original root language, which was in Udenma, and then outside that ring was another caste of people called the Vanr, which really they were referenced mostly as the Van, V-A-N, and they spoke not a different language. They spoke a language that had different sounds in it that were based on the original root language. There's two different parts of the same language. Basically, it's kind of like a core structure of the alphabet, and then an expanded upon nuanced structure of that alphabet. Thus, she gets the title Sol Fegen Svan, which translates as Sun Bird Swan. Her 12th son is destined to become the All-Father. The second family in the Rosette family, created by Lemminkainen and Disor, their selected sons are called Rabi and head for the ringlands outside of Udenma to have children. The Asur spoke a natural language called Root. All the people in the ringlands outside of Udenma, called the Vanr or Vanr, they consist of the Yarlet, Karlet, and Trillet castes. The Rabi, who comes from Udenma, is the All-Father in his ringland and is central in creating these castes. The Vanr did not speak Root like the Asur. The language of the Vanr is called Van. It is not a natural language, but it was constructed for them by the Asur. It is much more complicated and describes more concepts than the Root. But, like Root, it is based on the sound system. As in root, every sound has a meaning, and the combination of these meanings form words, sentences, and so on. The Von language is Finnish, where the root is Finnish Swedish. The two languages seem so vastly different, but they have the same underlying sound system. An illiterate person who's capable of understanding both languages could grasp this concept more easily.
Saga.